All right, before I begin, I want to ask everyone a question. Have you ever been part of a community that you haven't felt connected to? I certainly have. This is exactly the problem that SmallWorld is trying to solve. I tried all of them. There we go. I'm Elliot, and I'm part of SmallWorld. SmallWorld strengthens communities by facilitating high-quality connections between community members. Connected communities are happier, more innovative, more inclusive, and more productive. So you might ask how SmallWorld works. We produced a video to sort of explain it, but because of technical difficulties, we won't be able to show you the video. But essentially, this diagram explains in very simple terms how SmallWorld works. We take a list of community members, randomly pair the community members, send out the pairings through email. The pairs contact each other, figure out a time to meet. They can set up a meeting to go to lunch, go to coffee, take a walk. It's completely up to them. And then we repeat this process, randomly pairing new people in the community. We can repeat it every week, every 2 weeks. It's up to the community. And what the pairs do, what the pairs talk about, it's ultimately up to them, but that also can be guided by the community that they're in. To explain it in a little bit more detail, I'd like to tell you about a pilot that we launched in the medical school last year, where all of us on SmallWorld are in the medical school. And it started in part because it was relatively difficult for me to make connections within medical school. Most students in medical school don't go to class anymore. They stream everything online these days. And so it was hard to connect to my fellow classmates. So I sent out an email explaining the idea. And within 2 weeks, 90 busy medical students signed up for this program, over half the class. Over our academic year last year, we sent out over 600 connections. We sent out new connections every 2 weeks. And 100% of people who participated in SmallWorld and completed a survey said that they found value in the connections that they made through SmallWorld. Again and again, through the same survey, people said that they found value in the connections because they were connected to people that they would not have otherwise met. The clicker's hard, guys. So while we were doing the pilot and over the summer, we delved into the research on community development and into the sociology and psychology of human interaction. And what we found is that when a community forms, individuals within the community tend to segregate themselves based on similarity like interest, race, gender, class, hierarchy. These are, we're all familiar with this idea, and it contributes to this idea that sociologists call homophily, where individuals, tend to naturally make friends easier with people who are similar to themselves. And what SmallWorld does, what the most powerful aspect of SmallWorld is that we disrupt homophily by randomly connecting individuals within a community. Maybe I should. Here, okay. Point it over here, guys. And so you might be asking, I've said community over and over and over, what do I mean by that? And I'll tell you right now that I really have no idea. SmallWorld worked really well in the medical school. We sent out 600 connections. Everybody seemed to love it. It seemed successful to us. But we think that because this idea of homophily exists in most communities, in every community that I've been a part of, we think it will work in a lot of different communities. In academic communities, healthcare, conferences, faith communities, potentially virtual communities who are separated by a distance, and also student organizations. And so what we're in the process of doing is setting up pilots across the university, across Ann Arbor, across the nation. Our goal for this summer was to set up 5 pilots for this fall. We've already sent out 5 pilot applications and are talking to between 10 and 15 additional sites that are interested in using SmallWorld. Some of these sites include the School of Information, where we're piloted in a professor's class. We're also talking to Munger. We think it would be useful in dorms here. We're piloting at the medical school, but also they want to use it for all new faculty at the medical school. We're also talking to a conference that's hosted by the CDC, and we ran a small pilot at a conference a couple weeks ago at Intermittent. We're also talking to Innovation in Action, and even TechArb. We might consider running a pilot within TechArb itself. So you might ask, what's the business model? How does that work? I can go through this slide. We're considering, setting up a subscription model per user per month. There's actually one of our competitors that I'll discuss. It is currently charging $5 per user per month for a very, very similar service that we do. Also we think that it would be very useful for conferences, so that would obviously be a one-time fee, but we're also exploring additional features like smarter matching. And in our case, most matching algorithms match based on similarity. But we think a potentially smarter matching algorithm would match based on difference or dissonance, because those people that are different are not meeting. People who are similar are already meeting in communities. And so our smarter matching algorithm would look a lot different than other people's. We'll also offer connectivity analytics. And the reason why I'm going through this slide relatively quickly is because this isn't where we're focused right now. We're focused on our growth. SmallWorld, every community that we've talked to is interested in using SmallWorld, and we can scale very easily. And so that's what we're focused on now. And once we scale, this is important, and I think I'll probably get some criticism, and I'd welcome to talk to people about this. But right now we're focused much more on growth than our business model. So here's several of our competitors. Actually, I would consider probably a couple of them more friends than competitors. Argo is another startup here at the University of Michigan, and Innovate Brew is a program here that I'm sure many of you heard about. It connects faculty members in a very similar way to SmallWorld. But what none of our competitors do is focus on community. SmallWorld is not a networking app. It's not a friendship app. It's not a peer mentoring app. These are things that we get asked about over and over. Can SmallWorld be used for this? Can it be used for that? And I would argue no, that those all match based on either similarity or some other trait that we're not designed for. We match based on either randomness right now or potentially dissonance in the future. And of that, we're focused more on the community than on the individual development. So here's our team. I have a lot of community development experience. I've lived in a lot of different communities, ranging from Arkansas to Korea. I also spent a couple of years as a community development officer in the Peace Corps in Thailand. Rob Cesaro has 10 years financial experience. He worked in New York and also here at Arboretum Ventures. And then Whit is focused on sort of our user experience and also the financial aspects of SmallWorld. So I'd encourage everyone to visit our website at highqualityconnections.com. That's a term that was coined here at Ross, and I'd like to thank you all for coming today.